Welcome to DC Today. I'm Del Walters. Anquinette Crosby will join us shortly. I'm in Dallas, Texas. This is where the president came to talk about race relations and the police. But was it another trip across the plaza to hold up a Bible in front of a church just a little bit further away? That story in just a moment, but first, the latest. Joining us now from Houston, Texas is Nicole Porter. She is the director of Advocacy for the Sentencing Project. And Nicole, first of all, give us a lay of the land. Where are we now with regards to this particular election?
We are in the need to get the vote out and get as many people registered as possible so that as many folks can participate in the franchise coming up to November. I don't know about you or your audience members, but I have an urgency to support as many people voting as is practically possible, because I believe that this election is probably one of the most important ones in my lifetime.
So if I have been released from prison, are the laws the same in all 50 states concerning my right to vote?
They are not, and they have changed in recent years, which is why getting the word out, making sure people understand the policies and the law is so critical. It's also a challenge. Many people are de facto disenfranchised because the laws do vary from state to state. And there's, in the general narrative, there's an expectation or an assumption that if you have a felony conviction or if you have a criminal conviction, you're barred from voting. And that's not true in all jurisdictions. In two states, Maine and, well, three jurisdictions now, Maine, Vermont, and the District of Columbia, people never lose their right to vote, even those who are in prison with felonies. And in other states, the laws vary, and in some states there are lifetime voting exclusions, except for when the governor takes action. And those states with lifetime voting bans include Virginia, Iowa, and Kentucky.
So Nicole, give me a lay of the land and why I should want this, because there is a percentage of the population that believes that if somebody has done the crime, they should do the crime, but they also surrender their right to vote.
There's several reasons to want to expand the franchise. One is that expanding the franchise lives up to the full promise of American democracy. Throughout this country, there's been an attempt of group after group seeking to participate in the franchise that goes back to the founding of the nation. And so this is an opportunity to live up to that value and to include in the franchise residents who are the most disenfranchised, most marginalized, and disempowered. It's also about public safety. By marginalizing and excluding people from the electorate is also a way to dehumanize them and to disenfranchise them in more ways than one, not just through voting, but through their civic life. And choosing not to do that, making progressive steps towards inclusion, would be a part of pro-social behavior that would continue to welcome individuals as full participants in the community and in the greater society. And hopefully, as folks are on their journey to be held accountable for the offense that got them incarcerated to begin with, and towards a path towards moving away from those events and that behavior, they could be welcomed back into the community, back into civic life, and voting would be one factor in improving or reducing their recidivism or return to prison or jail.
But let me take the other side of this argument, which is that if I am the party that said we need law and order, lock them up, throw away the key, and then the other party lets them out of jail, they're loyal to that party that let them out of jail without necessarily really focusing on the issues, more so focusing on the people that didn't put them behind bars.
Well, voting shouldn't be about support for one party or the other. Voting is about participating in the franchise, regardless of which party is supportive of the policy or not. I would hope all parties, Republicans, Democrats, Working Family Party, the Green Party, and independents would be supportive of expanding the franchise and expanding those who can vote, regardless of their demographic category, whether or not, regardless of race, creed, or gender, and including people who might be excluded because of a past criminal history. It's very important in the United States, given the history of felony disenfranchisement. It does predate the founding of the country. English colonialists brought the practice over when they started occupying this nation. But there is a specific racialized factor around felony disenfranchisement in the United States, particularly after the Civil War, when Southern states used felony as a proxy to include Black residents from participating in the franchise. So this is racial justice, expanding the franchise to justice-involved residents, given the disproportionate impact of criminal justice on Black and Brown residents, which carries over into felony disenfranchising policies. And expanding the franchise to include people with felony convictions extends the civil rights traditions that so many have fought for over the last 50 years and longer, to move away from Jim Crow through the mass incarceration era, and now in the era of Black Lives Matter, seeking to live up to America's full promise to all residents, including Black residents.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about disenfranchisement in the age of COVID. Stay with us.